Finally, I want to deal with city sunlight. Now, this painting by Hopper in 1954 is really getting at this idea of isolation when in a massively overcrowded area. So for many of you, maybe in a dorm room, maybe in an apartment, maybe one time in a big city, who knows? But at some point, you have found yourself surrounded by a ton of people. If you live in a dorm, for example, on a college campus, you might be surrounded by 10,000 people within a mile. It's a ton of people to be around. And yet you feel isolated and alone. You feel that there's no one there. You could imagine, especially in the 1940s and 1950s, people have been moving cities. They're moving away from family, etc., to get better manufacturing jobs, to get better jobs in general. And that sense that you're surrounded by millions of people, but yet you don't know any of them. Even though you have the potential to meet all of these people, none of them really know you. And that's what we're getting at here. This woman, again, Hopper's wife, Jo, looking out into the wilderness, looking out into the city. And we don't get to see what she sees. So we don't get a sense of hope or anything like that. Instead, all we get is this sunlight. And the sunlight gives you a sense of hope, but then there is nothing of comfort around her. She's at a table. You're never comfortable sitting at a table. It's not someplace you sit and go, wow, this is cozy. People don't post it to Reddit. That's for beds and couches and that sort of thing. And even look through the window behind her, you can see another tenement or another apartment building just the other side. So she doesn't even really have a sense of privacy. People can look in. People can see what she's doing. But yet we have this sense of loneliness. And in the background, we're not seeing a well-appointed apartment or something that invites us. We're simply seeing a black depth. Almost a mystery. Again, getting at this sense of almost foreboding. That someone doesn't want to continue because they just feel this intrinsic loneliness. And the woman doesn't seem to be in a particularly good mood. This could be a very hopeful piece. We could see some sign out the window, an airplane or something, taking off, and it symbolizes her life and how she's just about to turn the corner, and yet we don't see that. Yet we see isolation. So when you look at a lot of Hopper's pieces, especially many of his pieces like this, where he's following the same basic theme of isolation within an urban environment, you're getting that sense of being alone. Now, what makes this, why do we bring up Hopper as an American regionalist? Well, when we look at it, he's pursuing a lot of the same ideas. It's a very realistic image. He's getting away from any of the abstraction or any of that that we see coming out of Europe. This is definitely not precisionism because he's not focusing on the America that we would expect. Instead, this is a sense of realism. He's capturing this sort of very emotional, very psychological concept within his works. Very much like Grant Wood is trying to capture the soul of the American Midwest within his. The difference is, whereas Wood is out in the country, Hopper is focusing on the urban environment.